The mental image most people have of a cyber attacker is critically wrong. It's not a skilled individual in a dark room who specifically chose you. This module replaces that image with something more accurate and actually more useful for making security decisions. It covers 6 categories of attackers, the difference between opportunistic and targeted attacks, the size myth that puts small organizations in danger, and the insider threat, which is consistently underestimated and consistently costly. After this module, part 2 is complete. You now know how attacks work. Part 3 is all about stopping them. Security is often discussed as if it were a battle against abstract forces, threats, actors, adversaries. But there are people on the other side of every attack, people with motivations, constraints, tools, and goals. Understanding who they are, not to humanize harmful behavior, but to understand what they want and how they operate, makes security decisions far more practical. The most dangerous misconception about attackers is that they are all sophisticated, patient, highly skilled individuals targeting you specifically. The reality is more varied, more mundane, and in many ways more useful to understand. Most attacks on most organizations and individuals are carried out by people or automated systems doing the digital equivalent of trying every door handle in a street, looking for one that is unlocked. Knowing the difference between someone trying every door and someone specifically targeting yours changes how you defend yourself. And it makes clear why basic security hygiene eliminates the vast majority of risk faced by most people most of the time. Attackers are not a single category. They range from teenagers running scripts they downloaded online to professional criminal enterprises with HR departments, from disgruntled employees with legitimate system access to state-sponsored intelligence operations with multi-year infiltration campaigns. What they share is intent to cause harm, whether for money, politics, revenge, or ideology. 6 categories cover the landscape of people and organizations who carry out cyber attacks. Understanding their motivation tells you a great deal about their methods and their targets. Cyber criminals, financially motivated, they want money through ransomware, fraud, direct theft, or selling stolen data. They target anyone with money, data, or systems worth exploiting, hospitals, businesses, individuals equally. What stops them? MFA, patching, backups, and trained staff. When they encounter those defenses, they move to easier targets. Opportunists, sometimes called script kiddies, motivated by curiosity, notoriety, or low-effort financial gain, using tools they did not build. They scan the internet for open doors. They do not persist. What stops them? Basic hardening makes you invisible to automated scans. Insider threats, motivated by revenge, financial distress, coercion, or negligence. They already have legitimate access. What stops them? Least privilege access, monitoring, prompt offboarding, and positive workplace culture. Hacktivists, motivated by political or ideological goals, embarrassing organizations, disrupting operations, publicizing causes. They target government agencies, corporations, organizations they disagree with ideologically. Methods: DDoS attacks, website defacement, data leaks. What stops them? DDoS protection, incident response planning, and communication strategy. Nation-state actors, motivated by political advantage, military intelligence, economic espionage, or destabilization. They target critical infrastructure, government agencies, defense contractors, and key industries. Methods: advanced persistent threats, supply chain attacks, zero-day exploits, long-term infiltration. What stops them? Hardened architecture, threat intelligence, government partnerships, and defense in depth. Organized crime groups, large-scale financial gain, often operating as businesses with specialists in different roles. They target high-value organizations, banks, insurers, healthcare, legal firms. Methods: sophisticated multi-stage attacks, ransomware as a service infrastructure. What stops them? Advanced detection, incident response, law enforcement cooperation. For the vast majority of organizations and individuals, the most likely attacker is a financially motivated cybercriminal or an opportunist using automated tools. These attackers are not targeting you specifically. They are running mass campaigns looking for easy wins. An organization with patched systems, MFA, trained staff, and tested backups is not an easy win. The attacker's tool moves on. The single most practically useful way to think about attacks is the distinction between opportunistic and targeted. It directly answers the question every person and organization asks: why would someone target us? For most attacks, the answer is they did not. You were not targeted. You were found. An opportunistic attack affects whoever happens to be vulnerable and reachable, no prior knowledge of the victim. Targets are identified by automated scanning of the internet for known vulnerabilities, open ports, default credentials. The effort required is low. It runs continuously. What makes you a target? Being unprotected. A targeted attack affects a specific organization, system, or individual chosen deliberately. Targets are identified through research, LinkedIn, company websites, job postings, previous breaches. The effort required is high: reconnaissance, custom tools, patience. What makes you a target? Your industry, size, political profile, data holdings, or known relationships with other targets. The defenses are different too. Against opportunistic attacks, basic hygiene. Patch, harden, use MFA. Remove easy entry points and automated tools move on. Against targeted attacks, depth of defense, monitoring, threat intelligence, incident response capability, supply chain security. Now, the correction that matters most. A common belief is that small organizations or individuals are too small to bother attacking. This is true for targeted attacks. A sophisticated criminal gang is unlikely to spend weeks researching a 10-person business. But it is entirely false for opportunistic attacks. Automated scanners do not check the size of an organization before probing its systems. A small accounting firm with an unpatched server is just as visible and just as reachable as a large corporation with the same vulnerability. The scanner does not care. Size is irrelevant to automated tools. Security posture is everything. Not every security failure comes from outside the organization. Insider threats, harm caused by people who already have legitimate access to systems or data, are consistently underestimated and consistently costly. The term covers a wider range of people and behaviors than most imagine. Malicious insiders, current or former employees, contractors, or partners who deliberately misuse their access to steal data, sabotage systems, or assist external attackers, often motivated by financial distress, grievances, or coercion. Negligent insiders, people who cause harm without intending to. Clicking a phishing link, misconfiguring a system, sharing data with the wrong person, failing to follow security procedures. This category causes the majority of insider incidents. Compromised insiders, employees whose credentials have been stolen and whose accounts are being used by an external attacker. The person did not do anything wrong, but their access is being misused. Insider threats are particularly difficult to detect because the activity looks legitimate from a system's perspective. A user accessing files they are authorized to access does not trigger obvious alarms. The defenses that help are not primarily technical: clear access policies, least privilege access, so people can only reach what they need, prompt revocation of access when someone leaves, and a culture where people feel comfortable reporting concerns. And here is the human dimension, because it matters. Most insider incidents do not begin with malice. They begin with a person under pressure, financial difficulty, a difficult manager, an organization that has treated them unfairly, who makes a decision they would not have made otherwise. This does not excuse the harm, but it does suggest that organizations that invest in their people, treat them well, and give them legitimate channels to raise concerns are less likely to face insider incidents than those that do not. Security is not only a technical problem. One of the most difficult categories of attack to defend against individually is the supply chain attack. The premise is straightforward and troubling. Instead of attacking your organization directly, the attacker compromises something your organization trusts: a software vendor, an IT service provider, a development tool, an open source library, and uses that trust as the entry point. Supply chain attacks are concerning precisely because they can succeed against organizations that have done everything right internally. Your systems are patched, your staff are trained, your credentials are protected, and then you install a legitimate software update from a trusted vendor, and that update contains malware. The most well-known example, SolarWinds in 2020. Attackers infiltrated a software company that made network management tools used by thousands of organizations. A malicious update was distributed to approximately 18,000 customers, including US government agencies. None of those customers did anything wrong. They installed a legitimate update from a vendor they trusted. For most people completing this course, supply chain attacks are not something you can personally prevent. They happen at a level above individual control. What you can do is support the organizational practices that limit the blast radius, apply least privilege to software and services as well as users, monitor for unusual behavior from trusted tools, and ensure vendor security is part of procurement decisions. Which brings us to what completing part 2 actually means for how you think about security. 3 ideas to carry forward. First, most attacks are not targeted at you. They are automated, indiscriminate, and looking for easy opportunities. Basic hygiene removes you from the easy opportunity category. Second, the people who do target specifically, whether criminals, insiders, or sophisticated actors, all rely at some point on a human mistake or a technical weakness. There is no attack that bypasses both a well-prepared person and a well-maintained system simultaneously. Third, understanding who is attacking and why allows proportionate response. Not every organization needs nation-state level defenses. Most organizations need solid, consistent fundamentals applied well. That is what Part 3 provides. Part 3 is called Build Your Defenses. Everything in it is a direct response to something covered in Part 2. You already understand the threat. Alright, before we move on, here are the 3 things from this module I want you to hold on to. Number 1. Most attacks are automated and indiscriminate. You are not targeted, you are found. Automated scanners try every door handle in the street. Number 2. Size does not protect you from opportunistic attacks. Automated scanners do not check organizational size. Security posture is everything. Number 3. Basic hygiene like patching, MFA, hardening removes you from the easy win list. Automated tools move on to the easier targets. Before you move on, there is one question. A small bakery's website is defaced overnight with a political message. The bakery has no known political enemies and holds no sensitive data. Which type of attacker most likely carried out this attack? The correct answer is C. A political message on a random bakery's website is the signature of an opportunistic or hacktivist attacker, not a sophisticated targeted operation. The bakery has no intelligence value. The most likely scenario, automated tools scan for an outdated software with known vulnerabilities. The bakery's CMS was unpatched. The site was defaced. The attacker moved on. The defense? Keep software updated. An unpatched CMS is an open door. Next up, Module 9. Strong authentication. See you there.